Joe Anderson and Al Clopine of Pure Financial Advisors have the answers to your retirement plan. This is your money, your wealth.
Have you looked at the value of your real estate lately? Home values have gone up nicely over the past couple of years, and it's really good news for retirees. Stick around and I'll tell you why. Welcome to Your Money, Your Wealth. Joe Anderson here, certified financial planner, president of Pure Financial Advisors. I'm with, as always, the big man, Big Al Clopine. We're hanging out trying to figure out exactly what retirees should do when it comes to creating the retirement income that they need long term. I'm telling you, the retirement planning has to change. There's a lot of people that are not prepared, and you have to think outside of the box today to get you the income that you need. That's what's on my mind today. You know, when you look at traditional retirement planning, most of the time you're thinking, how much money do I have in stocks, bonds, real estate, IRAs, Roth IRAs? Then you look at what's my Social Security and pension. But there's another asset class that you have to take a look at today. And guess what? It's your primary residence. Let's take a look real quickly at some stats here. So when you look at the value of your home and you look at the value of equity versus investable assets, from age 64 to 74 here, your home equity for most people is $150,000, while investable assets is $125,000. I go down the line here, age 75 to 84, $160,000 of home equity versus $115,000 of liquid assets. Then 85 plus, $150,000 of home equity versus $100,000 of liquid assets. We are living so much longer. And when you look at the state of people's retirement plans, you have to look outside the box and maybe think about, hey, what should I do with my primary residence? We're going to give you some ideas on what to do to maximize your retirement income. Let's bring in the big man to kind of help sort some of this stuff out. Hey, you look at home prices, they've gone up nicely all over the past couple of years when it comes to real estate. And if you look at the average balance of people's retirement accounts, I think most people have to look at some different alternatives to figure out how they're going to create their income.
They do, Joe, particularly in Southern California, where over the years we've had a lot of appreciation. So then it's a matter of what do you do? How do you access that home equity? Because a lot of financial planners will tell you, don't count your home equity because you need a place to live. Well, that's generally good advice, but in Southern California, it might be a little bit different given that we have a lot of equity in our home and it's difficult to save, actually. So let's take a look at 3 ways to tap your home equity. Number 1 would be to downsize, and that's kind of obvious, right? You could sell your home and buy a cheaper home. And for a lot of you, that might be something that you want to do anyway because you got a bigger home, you raise kids in the home, you don't necessarily want as big a home in retirement. By doing so, you can reduce your mortgage and potentially end up with more cash in your pocket to invest and create more income. So that's number 1. Number 2 is reverse mortgage. For those of you that are 62 years and older, this is a potential opportunity, and we're going to spend a lot of time on that today in terms of who should consider reverse mortgage and who shouldn't. And then finally, it can really be your emergency fund, which means really you don't have a plan for it. It's kind of like Plan B, if you will. In other words, only access it if you need to with long-term care or some kind of health event, something like that. But I'll tell you, Joe, in terms of our audience here in Southern California, home equity is a big deal. And the cost of housing is a big deal in Southern California.
Well, I mean, it's huge, Al. I mean, if you take a look, what do you think the biggest expense is of retirees today? Most people will say healthcare. Healthcare is going to be my biggest expense. But if you take a look at the latest studies, it is not healthcare. It's the cost of your home. So if I'm in my 60s, 70s, and 80s, and I'm still living in the big house that I brought my kids up with, you might want to relook at some different strategies. Because if I look here, all right, medical expenses is 10%, housing is 30%. That's what's going out each year out of your paycheck to preserve, right, your family home. It might be too big. You might need to tap into that real estate to make sure that you can provide the lifestyle that you want long term. So downsizing might be a key strategy for a lot of individuals. I know it's very difficult to do because it's like, hey, I don't want to leave the home. I don't want to leave the home. But you know what? You might not have a choice, and you might be a lot happier because you don't have to mow the yard anymore. Look at a couple of different things here, Al.
When you do downsize, then what does this do? Well, clearly you can reduce your overall housing expenses because your mortgage may be lower. That's number one. And then number two is it may free up equity. So what that means is, like, let's just say you have $1 million home and a $500,000 mortgage. And let's say you're able to find a condo or something like that for $400,000 that you'd be comfortable in. You sell that, you buy this condo free and clear, and you still have $100,000 extra, of course minus closing costs, but now you've reduced your housing costs because you don't have a mortgage, and you've got extra money with which to live. Joe, it's a big deal for a lot of people.
Well, especially for individuals that might have a two-story home. I think most people want to have a single story, or else now you're going to have to put an elevator, break out the walls, put a huge bathtub, right, a jacuzzi tub in your bathroom. All of that is added expense, which a lot of people don't really realize until they age. And I think the last thing that people want to do is like, that's never going to happen to me. I'm going to be strong and healthy for the rest of my life. But here's the facts. People are living a lot longer. With that, our bodies get a little frail. So you want to make sure that you're prepared. Now, with all of the equity that most of you have, hopefully that you've gained back since the crash of a few years back, the real estate market has come back nice. And now you have to take a look here. Let's maybe lock in some of this equity to provide me a lifestyle that I can be comfortable with. Downsizing is a huge thing. And then now with the real estate appreciation, some people are concerned with taxes. How is that going to affect me? How much tax am I going to have to pay if I do sell my primary residence?
Well, here's the thing, and nowadays you get a $500,000 exclusion if you're married, or $250,000 exclusion if you're single, meaning that the first part of your gain is completely tax-free. Here's a quick example. We'll go over that $1 million home again. You bought for $500,000, you're married, so you've got a $500,000 gain, but guess what? You pay no tax because you get a $500,000 exclusion. And then the second thing people worry about is their property taxes. And here's the rule, and you can only do this once with property taxes, but you can downsize. You buy a home equal to or cheaper than the home that you're currently in, and as long as you or your spouse are 55 years of age or older, you can keep that same property tax base, because what happens is with a property you've owned for a long time, you may be paying just a little bit of property tax, and by downsizing and buying another home, your property taxes would increase, but with this Prop 60, you can continue that base. So this is a big deal. You can avoid taxes in many cases on the sale, and you can keep your property taxes low.
Yeah, Prop 60 is huge, right? Because you bought the place for maybe $30,000. Right now it's worth $500,000. Right, over the last 30 years, it might be even higher than that. And then sometimes, right, well, if I downsize, buy something for $400,000, well, I'm going to have to pay $4,000 or $5,000 a year in property tax. No, that's not the case. Prop 60 allows you to carry over your old basis one time, as long as that property is a little bit lower in value. We're just getting started. Don't go anywhere, because we have Dr. Sass. He's going to sass it up. We're going to talk about some unique ways to take a look at getting more income out of your home. We'll get into the reverse mortgage. A lot of pros, a lot of cons. We want to break through the myths to make sure that you truly understand what is available. So don't go anywhere. Stick around. Show's called Your Money, Your Wealth. Hey, welcome back to the program. Show's called Your Money, Your Wealth. Joe Anderson, Big Al, Clopine hanging out today, talking all sorts of different things, trying to switch it up, trying to help you look at all of your options when it comes to retirement planning. Stick around. We got Dr. Sass from Boston College Center of Retirement Research. We're going to dive into him. It's always better, Al, to tap into a lot smarter minds than ours, so that's why we got the good doctor with us. Speaking of that, let's go to the true false.
This is a good one. This is a question we get all the time. I can only exclude gains from my sale of principal residence once in a lifetime, and that exclusion is $250,000 single, $500,000 married. The answer to that question is absolutely false, and you're actually referring to an older rule that probably was about 20 years ago, this once in a lifetime exclusion. But now, Joe, it's every 2 years. And here's the rule. If you live in your home 2 out of 5 years, you can exclude the gain, $250,000 single or 500,000 married. So just remember that. If you move, if you sell a home, you buy another home, it goes up in value, you don't like it, 3-4 years later, you can do the same thing again. You can get that $500,000 exclusion again. But you have to live in it 2 out of the last 5 years.
I think people get confused just because they don't flip their primary residence.
Correct.
Right? And so the last time they sold their home was probably 20 years ago. And so
Right.
they thought, can I continue to do this? No, I can't do it. Yes, you can use it as long as there's that much appreciation. Right?
Yeah,
You can do
that's
it every
right.
2 years.
Yeah.
So with that being said, speaking real estate, I want to dive in, and we have a really good guest today. We have Dr. Sass, like I said. He's with the Center of Research Institute over at Boston College. And I want to welcome Dr. Sass. Hey, listen, we're talking reverse mortgages today, and I want to bring you in to kind of help our viewers out to understand really what a reverse mortgage is. And it just so happens, I guess, did you write a new book about this?
Yes, we do. Here it is. It's using your house for income and retirement. Hot off the presses, a fabulously illustrated, chock full of information that you can read the whole booklet and get everything you need to know in about a half an hour.
What are some of the things that people should consider when they look at a reverse mortgage, or just basically explain what is a reverse mortgage?
Well, basically, reverse mortgage, you can access a chunk of the equity that you have in your home. You could do it either taking a lump sum, primarily to pay off a mortgage, or you could get a line of credit, which is very attractive, which means it's just there in case you need it.
Dr. Sass, why should retirees consider a reverse mortgage?
So a lot of households, we feel, are going to be hitting retirement, and they're going to be surprised with how little they have to maintain their standard of living and how difficult it might be. So we basically think that the house, which for most people is their largest asset and their largest expense, is the logical place to look to see if that's a place where they could pull some levers and provide for a more secure retirement.
You wouldn't recommend everyone to get a reverse mortgage, would you? I mean, let's talk about who do you think are the best candidates and why?
We're talking about people who are already retired. If you're not retired, the one thing that you can do that's really, really powerful is work longer. You get a much higher Social Security benefit, you can save more, the income, your savings can provide a higher income because there's fewer years of retirement. So working longer is huge. But once you're retired, you're basically, you can either eat less, okay, or use your assets.
So should people be concerned with the default rate?
For sure. Now, again, the government has changed the rules for getting a reverse mortgage because we did see a lot of that kind of default and problems in that area in the Great Recession that we've just been through. So we saw a lot of that problem. The government has tried to tighten up to try to get some assurance that the people that are getting these reverse mortgages are creditworthy and can maintain tax and insurance payments.
Well, that is great news. A couple of other things when it comes to requirements. Can you explain a little bit more of the requirements of a reverse mortgage and what our viewers should be concerned with there?
You're also required for a reverse mortgage to have counseling by an approved counselor. It's very important if you're going to take out a reverse mortgage that you go to that counseling session, you take it seriously, and that you really kick the tires. And one of the key factors is you have to feel comfortable that you're going to be able to pay taxes and insurance.
That's great stuff. Dr. Sass, I really appreciate you joining us today. You gave us a ton of information, and thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, there you have it. Dr. Sass talking about reverse mortgages, Al, and there's a lot of different things that people need to be consider. So if you want a copy of his book, you can go to our website if you'd like at Pure Financial, and you can download it right there on our website at purefinancial.com.
Why don't we recap some of the requirements, Joe, because it really is not for everybody. You have to be 62 years of age, or your spouse needs to be 62 years of age, either one or the other, and that's a little bit of a change. We kind of have some new rules since last fall. Realize that a reverse mortgage, this is where you're getting money. It's kind of the reverse of a regular mortgage. So you get dollars, different ways to receive it, and you don't have to pay the mortgage back until you move, or you sell your home, or you pass away.
Right, and so when you take a look at, all right, well, what are my choices for the distribution? So reverse mortgage, again, is a way for you to tap into your equity. And so you can either take it as a line of credit, all right, so you can keep it there, or you could take a lump sum. So let's say that you want to take $200,000 out of your house. You take $200,000 out of your house. So there's different options that you can use when it comes to reverse mortgage, or you could just take an annuity, if you will, or just take annual payments, or you can make it monthly payments depending on the mortgage lender. Now remember, all of that income comes to you tax-free, okay, because it's a loan. The IRS doesn't recognize that as income. So that's another added benefit. So for some of you that might want to bridge the gap to Social Security, you could take a reverse mortgage at 62, get some income, and you can push your Social Security out to age 70 per se. So there's a lot of different tweaks that you could take a look at using this tool, which is pretty cool. But there's also some downsides. I mean, how much income can you really receive? And then there's a lot of cost associated with this. Al, why don't we go through how much income that an average individual potentially could receive, depending, of course, on how much equity that they have.
Yeah, I think here's a pretty good example. So this would be a $250,000 home, just to give you an idea, okay? And so this would be an individual age 65 years of age. Remember, we just talked about it. There's three potential choices. So number one, a lump sum, it would be about $127,000, and that would be helpful if you're trying to pay off your mortgage and not have payments. The second one is a line of credit. This is the one that most people do, and it would be $118,500. That simply means you can take the money when you want to. You don't have to take it all at once. And this is the most flexible because you can take a partial lump sum now, you could get a payment stream later, right? And also you could take another lump sum at another point in time. Now finally, you could receive lifetime payments of $8,600 per year for the rest of your life. And this is not necessarily a bad scenario, but realize these are not indexed for inflation. So this $8,600 is the amount for the rest of your life. Now realize if you do this later, if you do it at age 70 or 75, you'll be able to get more lump sum, more line of credit, or more lifetime payouts. So when you actually take out this mortgage, depending upon your age, is going to be dependent upon what you can take, and also the value of your home. In this case, it's a $250,000 home. What the reverse mortgage rules are is the total of the home is where the max is $625,000. So if your home is worth more than that, you're capped out at $625,000 at the home value, and then it's a percentage of that. And the average 62-year-old, it would be somewhere around a 50% loan to value.
Hey, well, how much does all this stuff cost, Al? So let's say that I'm 62, I'm looking to get a reverse mortgage, and I go to a reverse mortgage lender. And just a caveat, FYI, by the way, Al and I are not mortgage brokers or lenders. I'm a certified financial planner. Big Al's a CPA. We just talk about this stuff on this show. So if you're calling, hey, I want to get a loan, talk to a mortgage broker. Okay, we can refer you to a couple, but we do not do loans. Just compliance reasons only.
Yes.
So if I want to do this, how much does it cost?
Well, that's one of the rubs, is the cost. And here we're going to go back to this $250,000 home and give you an idea what the cost would be. So right off the bat, there's what they call ordinary fees. This would be like on any mortgage, appraisal fees, any legal costs, title charges, things like that. So that's just an estimate, $2,500. Now, an origination fee, or points, if you will, $4,500. Remember, you only got about $118,000, $120,000, so that's a lot. That's a big number. Okay, then you got to have mortgage insurance, right? Because this is guaranteed by the government, so that needs to be that needs to come out of the loan.
Are you going to circle every box?
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah. Okay.
$8,200. That would be your estimated cost on a $250,000 home. That's 3.3% of the value of the home. And when you look at the value, the cost relative to the mortgage you're getting, it's over 6%. So it's expensive.
So, it's not always rosy. So you got to take a look at the pros and the cons to make sure that you're taking a look at everything all together, because this is just one strategy, of course, right? So if you do want to tap in, we talked about downsizing. That might be a better option. You might want to look at a reverse mortgage. When we get back from the break, we're going to talk about a strategy that Al and I both agree is probably what most people do and what we agree is might be the best move. So don't go anywhere. The show's called Your Money and It's Your Wealth. We'll be back in just a quick second.
Number is.
You can start doing this. You can find your magic number.
Is your road to retirement mapped out?
One simple mistake could take half of your individual retirement account.
Take advantage of Pure Financial Advisors' decades of experience to help give you a clear picture of where you are. Just by watching Your Money, Your Wealth, you qualify for a free financial assessment. Pure certified financial planners will sit down with you and lay out a personalized assessment of where you are and what you need to do to meet your retirement goals. Go to yourmoneyyourwealth.com or call 1-888-99-GOALS. That's 888-994-6257.
This is the key. Start today.
What you do today impacts how you'll enjoy tomorrow.
Hey, welcome back to the program. Show's called Your Money or Wealth. Joe Anderson, Big Al Clopine, talking about different ways to create retirement income, kind of thinking outside the box here when it comes to your primary residence. We looked at downsizing. We had Dr. Sass from Boston College, Center of Retirement Research, and we're looking at, all right, well, maybe a reverse mortgage might make sense. We're going to get into a third thing that you should look at right after we get done with the true-false question. Big Al?
I can qualify for a reverse mortgage when I'm 62, even though my spouse is not yet 62. True or false? The answer is true. So, and this is a relatively new rule, because in the past, if one spouse was younger and the other one was 62, you could still do it. But what they did, their workaround was they took the younger spouse off the title of the home and just put the older spouse on title, got the reverse mortgage that way. That was okay until the older spouse passed, and then the younger spouse had to get out of the home, because when you sell the home, when you move or you pass away, the loan has to be liquidated. So nowadays, a younger spouse can still be on title. It's just that the amount of income and or lump sum and or line of credit that you receive will be lower because it's based upon the younger spouse's age.
Question for you, Al. Why is that true-false question right up my alley?
No, not that one, the email question.
Oh, the email question. Because at the break, he goes, oh, the true-false question's right up your alley.
Did I
And I was
said
like,
that
okay,
wrong.
62, younger spouse. So when I'm 62, my wife is going to be like, what, 30? Is that what you're thinking?
That's what I'm estimating.
I'm going to finally find my true love at 62.
Yeah,
and then
I mean,
we'll do a reverse mortgage
on this
and
show,
she'll be all
about
right.
once a month, we plead to get you a date. So for
Yes,
anyone
thank you.
watching, info@purefinancial.com.
Speaking of true love, let's go to the emergency fund. Here's a final way to take a look at tapping into your home equity. A lot of times it's like, all right, well, maybe I need a long-term care stay. Tapping into your home equity is another good alternative versus long-term care insurance. Of course, we're getting older. As we age, there's going to be more needs for medical costs, or there could be unexpected large expenses throughout your life. Having that large equity is a safety net. Most people, I get it, do not want to tap into their equity, and I don't blame you. But when you look at, okay, well, here, you have that there, so maybe it's a just-in-case scenario. So those are the three. Let's dive in to the email questions, and then I think we got to get the heck out of here, Big Al.
Yeah, I think we have time for one. This is Paul in Anaheim. He asked, what instructions should I leave for my beneficiaries so that they can claim their inheritance or IRAs once I die?
Well, this is key, okay, because when it comes to a non-spouse beneficiary, right, the rules change. The rules when it comes to IRAs in general has changed back in 2000. There's something that's called a stretch IRA, all right? So what that does is allows the non-spouse beneficiaries to stretch out that tax liability over their lifetime. The biggest instruction that you can give to your kids or your beneficiaries is to say, hey, see the balance on my IRA? It's not all yours because you have to give some to the IRS. what has to happen is that the title needs to change. So if I were to pass, it still stays in my name for the benefit of whatever beneficiaries that you name. It's very, very important. What we're seeing is a lot of people that are losing taxes unnecessarily because they're not doing the planning. Hey, that's it for us. I want to thank Dr. Sass. I really appreciate him joining us today from Boston, Massachusetts. Big Al Clopine killed it today on that whiteboard, circling all those numbers. I thought it was wonderful. Hopefully you can join us again real soon. We're going to talk more about financial planning. We're going to get into more of your money and try to build your wealth. Have a wonderful day, everyone. We'll see you next time. I'm Joe Anderson, and that's Big Al. We'll talk to you soon.